UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback.
29-year-old Sean Salisbury, his second start as a National Football League quarterback.
All right, guys, welcome into UNPAVED. I'm Sean. Segs will be along in just a second. This is your place. We give you all kind of Trojan insight, flagship it up. We give you a lot of the Texans insight since I'm here, but nobody with honesty, without hot takes and bullshit involved, covers the national scope or the Trojans or local here in Texas or your area. And if you want more of it, you let us know in the comments. Better than we do. And more, should I say, passionate and fair than we do with the opinion you want. This is where you get it. It's great to be with you on UNPAVED. This will be our last show of this week. We don't vacation much, but we're going to take a week off, get new studios ready for down the road, hopefully, and bam, Segs and I and Bailey will be back along with Laura on Monday. But we don't vacation on this show. We're about to roll in a few things with Makai Lemon. And the reason we put this on, not only is a Trojan, but he's going to compete at the Combine. We're going to discuss that here shortly. Why it's important and why it may be overrated. We're also going to discuss quarterbacks. We went into 2026 or 2025 season with a bunch of guys that were going to be first rounders. As we sit now, there ain't a bunch of guys that are going to be first rounders, unless some of it's desperation. We're going to evaluate those, and Segs and I will dive into that. And if you're looking for your 20th year of eligibility, get the out and go play something else and so somewhere else. Enough. We're going to hit that too. And with all the nonsense going on in the streets and the craziness around the country, I can tell you this: I'll give all praise to the good Lord above, and I'll give all praise to us covering sports and a deviation from all the stuff. But I'll never give praise to Allah. Segs, welcome in. Okay, how you like that for them apples, brother? Ain't doing it. Not going to happen. I see cops getting hit in the face with snowballs walking down the street. I'm going to tell you what, man. I'm waiting on a guy to turn on him and just start opening up a can of whoop ass. And it doesn't have to be ice. Just open up a can and say, I got your snowball. Okay. So praise that. Okay. So there we go. Segs, good to be with you. God bless America. God bless gold medals. God bless the celebration. God bless all those who are doing the right thing. And God bless our first responders and our military. I love you guys. It's great to be with you today.
Yeah, I mean that tweet I saw, that video of those, excuse me,
Make you want to jump through the screen, huh?
Oh, just pissed me off so much. But
so here's a deviation. We got some good sports, some laughs to have today.
Yeah.
And by the way, Segs, real quick, I know we're going to hit it. The Cougars are a little struggle right now. The Houston Cougars. We'll get that a little later, but yeah, losing 3 in a row to three tough Big 12, opponents, but also. Now they're reeling a little bit, Segs, and that number 1 seed is going to be in danger if they don't fix it. But we'll get to that later. First, we start with Combine and some evaluations, and a receiver that I like is going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah. We'll talk about Makai Lemon in just a second. But let's start with the quarterbacks. Let's start, and we're going to do some of the maybe earlier quarterbacks, and then I've got 5 quarterbacks I want to run through and just pick your brain, get your thoughts on each guy and where you think they should be drafted.
Like Mendoza, we know he's going to be first pick. Yes. So we've evaluated him like crazy, and we will as we get closer.
Right.
These are kind of what we thought was where they are and where they fit now, Segs, right, moving forward.
Yes.
Fair enough.
All right. So let's start a guy that may be a first rounder, early second rounder. That's where most have him, in that late first, early second range, like the last 10 picks of the first round, first 10 picks of the second round. That's Ty Simpson from Alabama. You've had some praise for him throughout the season. You had some you didn't like some of the stuff you saw early in the season. So where do you stand on Ty Simpson? 6'2", 208 pounds is his list as of right now. Now we'll get the measurements. I think tomorrow is the quarterback measurements. So we'll get their exact measurements at the combine. But Ty Simpson for Alabama had that slow start to the season, then really picked it up and looked really good to the point that some were putting him up towards the top of the draft and then kind of fell off at the end of the season. So where do you think Ty Simpson fits in best? And is there a team or two that you look at and you say, I think put him here, even if he has to sit a year? Do you like him in a certain spot?
I do, Segs, a couple things, and I made some notes about these guys that you'd mentioned that you wanted to discuss, and I'm grateful we're doing this. And obviously these things change, and we see a lot in the off season just by going to the combine or in their personal workouts or in their team workouts. We'll see guys rise and fall, which is kind of hard to see. But listen, if you're watching, and it's different when you see a guy on TV as opposed to how the ball comes out in person. It is different, and I understand why you want to see it. But this combine or private workouts, the majority of the stuff you need to gather is talking to the coaches at the school and watching tape. You watch them play an 11-on-11. And I know I'm reiterating that all the time, but I think it gets lost at times. You'll see a guy. We saw it with Zach Wilson. We saw it. And who knows what his career is going to be, if he can be rejuvenated, if all of a sudden he catches lightning in a bottle and it looks like he did at times at BYU or in that workout. But he made a few throws in a workout, got him in the top 5. It just did, because his play up to that was flashy, but not consistent when he was at BYU. But people get caught up in even the teams that draft get caught up in all the social media hype and that momentum that picks up. But let me roll through this real quick, Sigs. As far as team, maybe if I describe the player, you and I can both fit like, well, what kind of system does he fit in? Because there are some Sigs that we're going to talk about that I really don't care where they play the system. They'll be good enough to adjust. Then there's those guys that need, some of these guys wouldn't fit into the old school Raiders vertical pass game where you're pushing it down the field, right? Where that's how you lived. You worked back to front as opposed to short to long. You get my point, Seg? So Let's start with Simpson. 1-year starter will be a concern for some. But we look at Mendoza, 1-year starter. We've seen it in the past. Your guys drafted Trubisky after a 1-year starter, and for some it works out, some it doesn't. Maybe we're not as concerned because of where he played and that he was in the system for a while, that he's got some experience, but it still will be a concern. That's why I say this isn't a first-year starter unless somebody gets hurt. Fair enough. Accurate player. He's got a high-end talent, and the measurables are fine for me, Segs. He's going to probably, if he's 6'2", what's that measuring? It's 6'1 3/4", 6'1 1/2", 210 pounds. I'm fine with that. I can live with it. I've seen plenty of 6'5". So with him, talent, starting experience in question, and you're going to question a little bit of the durability, but you hope that solves itself. I want you to think, remember yesterday I said, well, who in this draft kind of reminds me, and I think he's probably got a little more arm strength, but similar type player is Brock Purdy. And I saw somebody else's draft report. I said, because I was writing it, I said, he reminds me of it, but I think the accuracy, Segs, is at a premium level. And we saw that for a lot of the season. Accuracy will sustain you more than arm strength. And he's got enough of that to make all the throws. Not a wow factor talent, but a kind of guy you plug into the lineup and you say, man, he's been starting for 7 or 8 years. Right. He'll get that chance, and it'll be either late first round, second round, depending on who's going in front of him. I like him as a player. I would love to see more.
A lot of mocks, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Even if Aaron Rodgers were to come back, have him drafted at 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike McCarthy, that makes sense. Ty Simpson makes sense with Mike McCarthy. And
a great point about that too is for Ty Simpson, I feel like I'll tell you what, think of what Minnesota did with McCarthy without getting rid of one of the players. Does that make, without letting Darnold and Jones both walk? A team like that says, I don't have to force you into this, but if there's a veteran who's a middle-aged veteran but a good player that you can sit and learn from, and we know he's a quick study and a very smart guy. He's been in a system. So, and Segs, I'm going to tell you one thing. If you took away everything from every quarterback and said, here's what I got, football IQ and accuracy, that guy will last in the league. Yeah. And we may even be devaluing. He's more talented than just a guy. Does that make sense? And when I say Purdy, you say, well, one was the last pick draft, one maybe the second round. Well, where they were drafted, but just the similarities in their game. Timing and anticipation are everything. This guy's got that.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the next guy. Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU, listed at 6'1", 202, so similar size to Ty Simpson, maybe a little bit smaller. Projected in that round 3 to 4, so late second day, early third day. Was projected to be the number 1 pick in the draft at one point this early this season, and then things just did not click at LSU this season. Has good lineage with his father and knows the game really well. Do you think Garrett Nussmeier is anything more than a 3rd or 4th round pick and maybe just a backup? Where do you stand on Garrett Nussmeier?
Segs, this is a guy, and I've watched him as much as I've watched any college quarterback. I go on each week in New Orleans, but more than that, just watching him because, his dad was a little after me right around the and was a good, solid player. He's more gifted than his dad was as a player, but his football IQ is not going to be in question. He will take some chances. If you go back and watch him, he has got some gunslinger in him, and it caused him some inconsistency. When it comes to Nussmeier, I'm disappointed that I thought his elevation was going this way, Segs, when he was a backup and then finally got the job after Jaden Daniels was headed north. And then he hit it, and it's all of a sudden you saw a few games like, man, and then he fell off. And then this year it was such a roller coaster ride. Whatever you want to blame it on, he did not live up to the player that I thought he was going to be coming out. Because if you'd have told me last year when he came back and was going into to play the 2025 season at LSU, I would have told you 1st round pick, if not a 2nd round pick, because he has the skill set. He can make every throw. I watch him go back and watch a throw he made late in a couple of games, dude, that were just magnificent. The problem is the sustained consistency of accuracy, decision-making, and all of it. He's got all of it, but now he hasn't brought it together. I actually think that Nussmeier, a ton of experience, he will fit great in a pro style. I believe he's a guy who can get under center and get in the gun and operate out of it. That won't be foreign to him. I think he's going to be a better NFL player than college player. I do. I think he's going to be set up more for the game. And I don't know if it was carrying around the burden of the expectations at LSU, all those things that maybe he tried to do too much. He will not start his first year. But of all these guys we're going to talk about, I'm going to tell you now, when it comes to football IQ and football moxie, he's as good as any of them. He is. But the questions you have now is, why was he so inconsistent at LSU? These last, you know what I'm saying? Flashes of it. But size, IQ, lineage, the DNA, his ability to take chances and play with some guts, and he's tough as hell. He'll take a hit. So I think that you're going to see a better NFL career than you did college career. His college career was good. I think you're going to see more, Segs, because he's going to go in with no expectations, at least from others, but for himself. Yeah, this will be a 3rd round, 4th round pick that may end up being a steal, because if he was the guy that I thought he was going to be coming out, going into his senior year this last year, I would have said 2nd round pick and has a chance of getting into the 1st round pick with a great season. He didn't. I think he's got nowhere to go but up. I think he's bottomed out. I think he can head his way back up. I think he'll be a better pro.
All right. Next guy is another guy who a lot of people had at the top of the draft heading into this season, and it's Drew Aller from Penn State. Big kid, 6'5", 235 is where he's listed. We'll see what it comes in at the combine, but broke his ankle late in the season after Penn State had all the just the bad season that they did, and he was a big part of it, and he turned the ball over too much and just wasn't the playmaker that we'd seen the last couple seasons. So where do you stand on Drew Aller, who's mostly projected by most in that round 4 to 6 range? Somebody loves the size, the ability to use his feet, and just the playmaking capability he has. Maybe they think after a few years, maybe he can be a starter in the league. Where do you stand on Drew Aller?
I thought he was overrated in college, Segs. When I kept going into last year and people said, oh, this is a 1st round pick. I didn't see it.
Felt like they just looked at the size and just said, yes, right. Top of the draft.
The reason right now I would you're drafting him in the 4th round, 3rd or 4th round, if you do, or 5th round, is because of the measurables. Big guy, and pretty good feet for a guy of his size.
Yeah.
He is he is when he walks into the room of all the quarterbacks. Oh, who's that cat? That's what you're saying. Big physical kid who's got plenty of arm. The problem is he can throw it through a car wash without getting it wet. He can't hit the car wash on a regular basis. And that's the problem. But big physical, high expectations, big arm, can make every throw. The problem is, Sigs, I'm not sure if he's quite understanding where that GPS is headed. And I thought, and this, I hope he's right. I hope he's better than I'm talking about, because that size, if he's coached right, mechanically, gets the ball out quicker, no wind up. But for me, Segs, I don't know where we placed him, because I'd never seen him string back wow games in a row. Right. I never looked at Drew Aller as the best player on the field when I watched him. Now,
agree.
Potential, sure, but potential gets coaches fired. But with that big body, and Segs in big moments, I didn't think he played his best football. Those clutch moments when you got to have it, you got to come through under pressure. The consistency of accuracy and ball placement under duress and pressure. And I think that showed. So if he's a success, I'll stand up and say I was wrong. When I say a success, I'm talking about a starting quarterback. I think he's a project. And if you take him into the third round, he must have proved something to you in some private workout. Big potential, but also I think he's got the floor is there's a dropped off floor there, Sigs, and there's a ceiling there. I prefer a guy, high ceiling, but I look at the floor a lot. What's the worst that goes about this? He's not a first round pick. I thought he was overrated in school. There's a lot of room to grow, but he's got to get better in consistency as a passer and under pressure. But his body is going to tell you to draft him.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm one of the guys, I like to, if I have a starting quarterback who's great and he's a certain style, I would like to draft and try and develop a quarterback similar in size and the way they play. And I'm not saying Drew Aller is this guy at all, but the size and everything. Buffalo draft him and just let him sit and watch Josh Allen. Josh Allen's big, has the arm, uses his feet a lot to, just make people miss and get throws off. And that's where Drew Aller needs to get better, in my opinion. So if he's your third quarterback there in Buffalo, not your backup, but your third guy, just sit and watch Josh Allen for 3 years, and then maybe something clicks and he can take off.
And what did we say about Josh Allen coming out? Accuracy was in question.
Yes.
Accuracy. Now, the one thing, he's not as fluid and smooth an athlete as Josh Allen, right? A little more rigid, but Segs, if I was coaching him, I want the ball up and out quicker. I'm not going to coach him out of those feet, but a guy that size should be able to have great feel in the pocket and dominate there. Now, like I said, you want to make some spectacular throw, he's got that in his arm. Yeah. The under duress somehow, some way, and that always concerns me if you're only good when everything's good.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see Drew Aller's progression and be a next level. No reason to play him early. Hell, and he may be a third string quarterback when he first starts. Segs.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of these guys need. They don't need to be rushed
in,
even the backup spot. Just let them sit as, and now you can keep that third quarterback on your practice squad and then dress them day of. And, it's a lot of good experience. All right, next guy, Cade Klubnik, came in as the #1 quarterback in the country out of high school. We thought big things were coming for Clemson in this offense with Cade Klubnik at quarterback. 6'1", 206 is the list, projected in that same sort of area as Drew Aller. Where do you stand on Cade Klubnik, and do you think he has a chance in the NFL to ever become a starter, or do you think he just can be a good backup?
I do, Segs, and maybe this is Texas bias because I've seen him more. The kid's won at every level. Now, I expected more winning when he went to Clemson. I think you and I might have talked about this. When he left with Lake Travis, I think, in Austin as a state champion and the rest of it. When he got to Clemson, I thought, this has got Heisman Trophy superstar written all over it. And for whatever reason, it kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. But Segs, of all these guys, if you're drafting, don't be shocked if he impresses somebody with everything he's got this offseason and ends up being the second or third quarterback taken. I'm just telling you, whatever round that might be in.
Yeah.
He's extremely athletic, ultra competitive. I would have thought we'd have more. I would have thought that the years there we'd be discussing that they were a Final Four, Final Six type team both years, because he's such a dynamic skill set. And I made a note that I think one of my favorite things in watching him is his ability to process information. We use that term sometimes too often, but with him it does work. But Segs, there was just never that rhythm of games that you saw. Like when you go back and watch, I know high school's high school, but you start to see what it looks like parlayed down the road. I actually like him a lot. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. I think the adversity and the struggles that he went through, because underachieved, no. If you said, did you reach your goals that you wanted to in college, knowing Cade Klubnik's competitiveness, I don't think he'd say he did. And so, Segs, I think he's athletic, good feet. This is one of those guys that steals a job from you and you may not get back if you're not careful. The reward on the risk with him is bigger. I think the reward is bigger because I don't think we've seen his best football even close on a consistent basis. So now he's no longer that star coming into Clemson. He's that guy that has to prove he was the guy that we thought coming into Clemson. I think it's good, but quick processor, a lot of experience at a big-time program. I expect Cade Klubnik to start in this league in the next couple of years. I think he's got that ability on the right team.
All right, and then our last guy, I think, is my favorite guy in this draft as a long-term backup that can be in this league for 15 years. That's Luke Altmaier.
And Segs, scare somebody into being a guy who starts for a while. I am with you 100%.
Played at Illinois, was the starter there the last couple seasons, came from Ole Miss, transferred from Ole Miss to Illinois, had a couple good seasons, had the Fighting Illini ranked a couple times, and then they just lose. And, but he led a successful offense there in Champaign. And I just think this guy has that. There's just something about him I love. If he was my backup quarterback for the next 10 years, I'm comfortable with that, with what I think he is coming into the NFL draft. So where do you stand on Luke Altmaier?
Well, Segs, you like him for the same reason I do. He's composed all the time. I rarely see him, and it's a passage. How often do you see Illinois? Well, you saw him a lot because this guy is a good football. Matter of fact, probably the best guy nobody's talking about. I'm talking about just his fan. He really is. Now, Segs, you see the picture of him there?
Yeah.
When I see that, for a guy who's as precise a passer and composed, and I think is one of the better intermediate. Remember we talked about C.J. Stroud's ability to throw great intermediate routes, that dig route. He's got that in his game, the ability to layer passes. And I think he's one of those guys that falls out of the truck and lands in accuracy too. He's a really precise passer and played in an obviously good conference. But I want to make sure, Segs, the one thing these college quarterbacks need to know, like going from high school to college pro, the jump and the gap is enormous. When you're in college, in high school, you're throwing to big, huge windows, Segs, big ones. When you get to college, they shrink a little. And you get to the NFL, you and I have talked about, you're throwing to coffee can size windows. And he can. Segs, he's a guy that you say can be in the league 15 years. But somebody's going to fall in love with him. Not in the first round, but somebody is, because they're going to say, you start thinking about the guys that have been drafted that are good size and are accurate passers. They just kind of go about their business. The next thing you know, he's getting a start, and you're like, damn, where'd he come from?
Right.
I'm a big fan of his. And he got better when he left Ole Miss, and he got better every year. He didn't regress. So big fan, precise passer, great composure. And I'm with you. If he gets in to the right place and settles in an offense with him, he will be an asset to somebody's team, no matter where you draft him. And he's one of those guys, Segs, we may wake up on draft day, and he may sneak in day two before you know it.
Yeah,
I really do. I'm a huge fan of his, but that intermediate ability to throw those routes and take those shots without being greedy is something I've really enjoyed. And he was well coached in college.
Yeah. All right, let's make the switch over to the wide receiver. We talk a lot of USC on this show. Makai Lemon, we mentioned him, I think it was yesterday, and I said I think this guy can be the best wide receiver out of this class. And he announced that he will participate in all the drills. He'll run and he'll do everything at the combine this week. Do you think, so let me just quick do this. You got Makai Lemon. He sits at 5'11", 195. He's your guy that you can put in the slot, stick outside, and he kind of do a little bit of everything. Then you got Carnell Tate, 6'3", 195, big body receiver, played there with Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin, and we saw how good he was there for the Buckeyes. And then you have Jordan Tyson, who's big outside receiver at 6'2", 205, contested catch guy, runs great routes, but is more of like a deeper threat, big body receiver. So out of these three, do you think Makai Lemon can come out of this and be the #1 wide receiver drafted in this class?
Yeah, I don't know, Segs. People fall in love with the measurables at times, whatever they're going to run.
Yeah.
What I do like backing up and whoever's doing it, but speaking of Lemon, Segs, getting to see him in person and on television, he's different. Yeah. He is just different. And there's a few things that stick out. And do I see him? Could he come out of this and be the best of the draft? Yeah, I don't know. Somebody falls in love, somebody runs faster, what have you. It depends on what you get a wild hair for. In watching him, Segs, and it's consistent every friggin' week. I can play him inside. I can play him outside. I love guys I can deploy and move around and stick in different spots. Great hands-eye, ball to hands, hands to ball skills. Yeah. The body control's off the charts. When I describe route runners, when I say a precise and dynamic route runner, I cannot stand route runners who are lazy because they're gifted. So they kind of roll into routes and do it. And then the ball's at the ankles, and I hear broadcasts say, yeah, he missed the throw. No, that was a 12-yard route. That he ran at 14 and the ball hit his ankles, or it would have hit him in the chest. Lemon does not do that. If it's a 12 back to 10, it's 12 back to 10. If it's a 10 roll to 12 on an outcut, he's there. His ability to get to spots and understand, who he reminds me of in route running from different spots is Nakua with the Rams. He just does the ability, and I'm not talking about they're the same player or the same size. I'm just saying the ability to understand the difference between zone and man, and then to deal in contested catches and to be a finisher. There's nothing I don't like. When I saw him in person early this year, Segs, in person, I looked over at the people I was with, and one of my sons and say, that may end up being as good a receiver as there is in the country. And that was in the first month of the season. As we power forward, he did nothing but tell me that he did and show me that he was everything. You draft Makai Lemon high, you're going to get a productive player the second it opens, because he doesn't rely on one thing, Segs, operate outside the numbers. He can go inside. He can go outside. I love the guys who can play in pressure, play where there's traffic, but also play in space, which he is really good at. But if you don't like his route running and his ball skills when the ball's put it this way, his balls aren't 50-50 balls. He's a 75-25 guy. Yeah. And he is a closer. And Segs, you could have put a Bruin uniform on him. I don't care what uniform you put on. And remember I talked about the quarterback that I never saw Drew Aller be the best player on the field? You know what I saw with Makai Lemon? Damn near the best player on the field every friggin' week. Yes. And in the biggest moments, the ball didn't hit the ground. And if I was coaching at the next level, I'd say, well, let's see. I got this guy. This is going to be a blast to stick him outside, inside, motion him, run him from the backfield. I can run him vertical. I can run him across. He is everything you want, and not big self-promoter. They will, if they're not in love with him already, they will, and I believe they will be. This is a guy who fits in any system, and he will play from a lot of different positions. Love him. Absolutely love his ability to go get the football.
He is, and I'm not saying this because he's a Trojan, but he reminds me so much of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just
no doubt,
the toughness, like you said, and when you said finisher, it kind of just again reminded me of Amon-Ra St. Brown, because he's the guy that will catch it and then run you over. And that's kind of
switch jerseys, Segs. Switch jerseys on both of them. And now Amon-Ra a little more polished.
Yes, I mean,
but switch. Agree. No doubt, he's held in a similar regard coming out of school. And they have such a similar game. And when the ball's up for grabs for Amon-Ra St. Brown, does that look like a 50-50 ball to you? No, it doesn't. Just like this. That's a advantage receiver, and their ability to understand defenses. When I'm watching a receiver like that, when I watch Nakua, or when I watch Amon-Ra St. Brown, or when I watch the best of the best, I feel like I'm watching a receiver when I watch Makai Lemon, who understands exactly what the quarterback's thinking from his position. That's why you think about guys like Antoine Randall or Hines Ward, guys who played quarterback and then went to receiver, Segs, that were really true receivers, but they're the best athletes, so you put them at quarterback. Is they have this great understanding. I'm not saying Lemon did, but he feels like that guy, because there's just this feeling, and it's not going to just be because the quarterback at SC. He'll go, and whatever quarterback he's with, get a great understanding. And I'm big on high football IQ. There's nothing not to like about him. And he's tough as 100-year-old leather. Give me Makai Lemon, and if you're asking me 5 years from now, well, can he look like Amon-Ra St. Brown production on Sundays? The answer is absolutely yes.
All right, before we move on, let me ask you this question real quick. We talked about those quarterbacks with Ty Simpson. We know Fernando Mendoza is going one. If Jaden Mayava from USC came out in this draft, where would you have him slotted? Would you have him right behind Ty Simpson as like
Who'd you say, Sigs?
pick?
I'm sorry.
Jaden Mayava, the USC
Yeah.
quarterback. Do you think
Right.
he would be a top three, a second day pick, a top 3 round guy? Do you think he could maybe move his way into the late first along with Ty Simpson? Where would you have Jaden Mayava if he came out this year?
What exactly were you talking about? For sure, second day, possible first day, depending on his offseason. One more year of his eligibility going back and playing.
Yeah.
First round pick if he continues to progress. So absolutely, and probably a little more versatility, but can throw from the pocket than the guy we're talking about. A little more upside. I think this is a monster year for him. I'm so glad he's coming back, but he has got. I still think there's some maturity things. The weakness for him is he at times premeditates his decision and throws the ball. He already knows where he wants to throw it before the ball is snapped, and that's something he's got to get out of. And it cost him a couple interceptions in the bowl game this year as well. If he can get out of the premeditation, and regardless of what you're thinking, you still got to read it out. Oh, there's Lemon. I got to throw it to him. No, if he's doubled, there's somebody else singled. Find that guy. So to make sure that you don't get to the point where, oh, this has worked for us 50 times. On the 51st time, if the coverage is wrong, you can't throw it there. And once he progressed that, so right now, yeah, Seg's probably a second day guy if he was coming out with the ability to move up to a first day. And if he has a great season this year, he's a first day quarterback, first round guy. Just depends on where and how healthy he is.
All right, we're going to take our quick break as we do every single show. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk Nick Caserio. He gives his opinion on the CJ Stroud trade talk. We're going to talk about Houston Cougars and their third straight loss to Kansas. And then a guy in Kentucky. What did he do? When I sent you guys this tweet, I was shocked by it, but we'll talk about that as well. But first, let's get into some Augusta Precious Metals.
All right, it's all about Augusta Precious Metals, your premier gold IRA company. Let me say this real quick, and I'm not trying to be dramatic here. The other day, I'm at the grocery store buying the same stuff I always do, and I'm looking at the bill like, come on, man, higher than last month again? What is this, Groundhog Day? Same groceries, same bills, and it's been happening for years now, a month after month after month after month, just higher and higher. You start asking yourself, how high can this keep going? Because it's not stopping. Stop, please. And that's what really worries me about retirement savings. It's not just like the number on paper. It's what the money can actually buy, the value. If groceries and bills keep climbing, that same retirement savings doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. You can have the same balance and still be falling behind. That's why a lot of people with real retirement savings are diversifying, part of it into physical gold, not just to chase returns, just to protect what they've already earned. I looked into this myself, and Augusta Precious Metals stood out big time like a flashing neon sign. No pressure, no scare tactics, just straight education. This stays inside your IRA or 401k. No taxes, no penalties. It's Augusta Precious Metals. Get the free gold IRA guide at SeanBuysGold.com. Don't miss this great party. SeanBuysGold.com or text Sean, SEAN, to 35052 or click the link in the description below. It's a difference maker. It's a life changer, and 2026 can be your moving year towards understanding gold and precious metals as well as silver. It is SeanBuysGold.com. That's SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Augusta Precious Metals.
All right. Thanks to Augusta Precious Metals, as always, one of our main show partners here on Unpaved. All right, Sean, Nick Caserio took the podium, I guess you want to say, at the NFL Combine and took questions. And he was asked about CJ Stroud potentially being traded this offseason. Well, he called it moronic to trade CJ Stroud. And, this is something we've talked about, but I also think him coming out and calling it moronic kind of paints him into that picture of now we can't trade him. Now if you come out and you trade him, even if you feel like you've won the deal completely, Now your GM is coming out saying all this talk's moronic, and then you trade him. Now you're kind of stuck with CJ Stroud. You pick up that 5th-year option, but all that talk about the extension that we heard from ESPN and the projection of 4 years, 240, just, whatever it was in that range. What do you think of Nick Caserio's comments about CJ Stroud potentially being traded, and what does it mean for CJ Stroud moving forward this offseason?
I think, one is that I think it reiterates the belief in this team in the front office in CJ Stroud. And remember, Nick Caserio drafted him. And so Nick Caserio trading him now would say that he fell short of expectations. You know how I feel about this, Segs. I've said I would take every call because he has not gotten better the last 2 years, which does not mean he's not going to be a star. I am a fan of the kid, and I would have crowned him going to be a superstar after his rookie year, but that's why we always a little too quick to judge good or bad. Well, with this, he did paint himself into a corner. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen now. If you trade him, it's only moronic, and I think that Nick Caserio has done a hell of a job with the Texans. Segs, when Will Anderson, he's done. They haven't built the offensive line like they need to, but other positions they've done a really good job. He's been pretty solid. I can argue the year he drafted him and Will Anderson, and they've had some good drafts defensively. That you could have put him. He was an executive of the year type guy, especially Stroud's rookie year. He'd done a good job. To call it moronic is a bit moronic because it's only moronic if you traded him for less value. That's what would be moronic. It's not moronic to listen or take calls, but when you say that, instead of saying, listen, we've got a really good quarterback, we love him, we don't really talk about trades and all that, then you protect yourself in this way. And he's also painting himself into the corner, Segs. I'm just telling you what's going to happen, whether you and I or anybody else disagrees. He's going to get paid and he's going to stay a Texan, at least for now. It's going to happen. Now, I don't know when he's going to get paid, but they're going to do it. And if they pay him $60 million on the front, it would have been as far as his salary, it will be on the surface overpaid. He will have to go earn it because he has not earned that contract 3 years in. But we pay on potential more than production now. He's shown great production at times. The last 2 years, it's been sporadic production, but the upside's through the roof if he ever gets back and then some from his rookie year. And you know what? Settling in another year with Nick Caley as a coordinator and this great defense and hopefully getting him an offensive line. I believe in CJ Stroud, but I'm just still telling you, if the Bengals called with Joe Burrow, if you don't listen, that's moronic, even as much as I like CJ Stroud. The question is, do the Texans like him or love him? If they're not entertaining any trade, it tells you they love him. And if you love him, you go pay him, and we'll sit back and judge the results. CJ Stroud's a good player. He's not a February player yet. He's got the potential to be a February player. When all this is said and done, he'll still be in uniform. He'll still quarterback him. And the Texans, more than likely, I would bet now, regardless of what I think, I would bet now that on a futures bet with Kalshi, I'd bet that CJ Stroud's going to get $50+ million and is going to sign an extension and be a Texan for a while. Watch.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying, if you believe in CJ Stroud, then yeah, it's fine to say, hey, we love this guy. We expect him to be part of our future. I just happened to refresh Twitter, and Ryan Poles was asked about DJ Moore because he's a potential trade candidate for the Bears. And he said, we want to keep DJ Moore, but we have to keep all our options open. That's all I'm saying, Nick.
Smarter answer.
Yeah. Right.
Smarter answer. Yep.
So, I mean, I think it's just something that he didn't
Segs, listen,
at this moment.
We're at the stage, and a great point by you. We're at the stage, and I'd like to think grown men, I know we're in an athlete, sensitivity is through the roof, the pussification of society and all that. We're at a time we almost feel like we have to say stuff. CJ Stroud doesn't need I wouldn't think, approval from me or you or anybody else to know he's a good player. It's always nice when you get an endorsement from your GM said that's moronic and makes you feel good and all that. But there's a point in time when I think that he should already know that. Does that make sense, Segs? The validation proof. CJ should know that. So the smart answer is that simply listen. And it's moronic also if you had a chance to upgrade your team. Listen. If it's Will Anderson and you get a guy of equal value and then 2 more first-round picks and you don't listen to that, you're an idiot. If you got a similar player or similar, like if they want to trade Micah Parsons for Will Anderson, I'm just saying, just use it. And then they said, oh, Green Bay will throw in a first and a second rounder. Of course you'd listen. It'd be moronic not to, whether you think he's better or not. So in this case, you're exactly, hey, we'd love to keep CJ Stroud. We got to make sure it fits with what we're doing, and we got to make sure we can all get it done and everybody's happy. But we want to make sure we put the best 11 on the field all the time. Simple. And you move on. So I never want to, as a GM, you lose leverage, even if that leverage is to keep the guy, not just in trade stakes, but what about the leverage? What about the leverage of in a negotiation with the guy?
Contract.
If I'm CJ Stroud and his agent, I'm sitting back saying, you said it's moronic? That's $60 million a year for me, brother.
Yep.
So I'm trying to use all the leverage I can. Yeah. Instead of, you got to be careful because verbiage is used against you in negotiations on both sides.
Yes.
So we'll see how that works. Ryan Poles gave the exact answer you should give when you're trying to protect a player or protect the organization.
And something we've talked about, I think it was late last week when we were talking about the Texans, and something I've seen over the weekend and this yesterday and today is I've seen early tweets about free agency. And now these are just early, so things can obviously change. But I saw one about Rasheed Walker, the left tackle that seemingly is not going to return to Green Bay. Like 4 or 5 teams were mentioned about Rasheed Walker, and the Texans weren't one of them. Same thing being said for Wyatt Teller. So, here's some early favorites for Wyatt Teller. Texans not on the list. I mean, the Texans need to be out there being like, hey, I know you're not supposed to talk to free agencies, but we all know they back channel and do different things, especially at the combine. You start just whispering to agents and
there's tampering goes on all the place. Yes. It just does.
So I think, the Texans need to be putting out there like, hey, these two guys make sense. Hey, this offensive tackle, if that's who they like better, that makes sense. Yeah, we're going to be in that. Start putting that out there, because if you do not work on this offensive line this offseason and maybe just add another rookie or a rookie draft pick, and CJ Stroud walks into this season, you're going to have the same type of season from CJ Stroud, because he's going to be running for his life. He's going to be forcing passes that aren't ready, that the receivers aren't ready for. It does not make your quarterback better. And if you're going to pay him $60 million and you don't protect him, then it's your own stupid fault.
And Sags, you could see that lack of next level for him in the offensive line, that there's a reason. And it's not just the offensive line. He's got to be good enough to overcome that mentally and emotionally. I'm going to tell you this, Sags, and let me just say this as clearly as I can for Texans fans or anybody else. The number one priority in this team, and this comes from a quarterback who loves CJ Stroud, the number one priority on this team is not to extend CJ Stroud, in my mind. At some point, yes. Your number one priority between now and April and between now and the start of next season, because I got the guy under contract, is to, and even if I didn't, is to be the quarterback and the line together, is to turn this offensive line into a dominant offensive line.
Yeah.
Because I've got news for you. In practice, I'll bet you, and we're not there, that when you line up and go 7-on-7 versus Texas offensive line, that defense in Texans is winning more than that offensive line. That's got to get to some equal parts. There's some good players, but the continuity, their number one priority has got to be involved in the offseason free agency and in the draft to shore that up to where that's not just good, it's got to be dominant. And then you can go on to the extension part of CJ Stroud. Get an offensive line that can take an average quarterback and make him good, and can take a good quarterback like Stroud and make him great. If that's not the priority, the Texans are doing it wrong offensively.
Yeah. Staying in Houston, something we discussed yesterday, it was our bet of the day. The Houston Cougars lose to Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, 69-55 or 69-56. I mean, that game, Houston had the early lead. I think they were up by 5. And then, boom, it was like 31-27, I think, at half, in that range. And it just never felt like Houston got going again. And I know they kept it close and it extended a little bit, but I don't know. I tweeted the other day that I thought Houston was one of the teams that can definitely win a national title. What they've shown me over the last 3 days, and I know the schedule's tough. I know it's Iowa State, Arizona, Kansas, but this
Kelvin doesn't care about that.
Right.
Yeah. And Kelvin doesn't care about that. He won't let the schedule make an excuse for his team. He just won't, because he'll think that that's weakness creeping in. He won't do that.
First time they've had 3 losses in a row since 2017. I mean, it's a rough stretch at a bad time for the Houston Cougars, and somebody needs to step up besides Kingston Flemings.
There's no doubt. Segs, going into this year, I thought maybe counting the way we know what they do on defense offensively. And I've been in Houston a while now and watched Kelvin's team continue to get better and get bigger recruits, and Kelvin build this. And Coach Sampson, this is like I said, when you said since 2017, it's been a while
Yeah.
since you've seen 3 losses from that team. Of what we're 9 years now. That'll get fixed, but this was a team that I still think, and going into the season, thought this is maybe as good a team as they have as they continue to, they got some veteran leadership, build a national championship team because they've been so close the last few years, and we saw them in the final last year. Segs, the biggest thing about this that they're got to go back to work, and there's got to be more than you saw. We'll reverse it real quick. The biggest thing about this game is that Kansas's best player played 30 minutes last night, and Peterson, but he wasn't their best player on the floor last night. And what Bill Self said last week is prophetic. Our guys have learned how to win and play and expect it, basically, and I paraphrase some of it, without him. They've learned to do it without and he played last night, but it was almost as if they were playing good basketball and he was just part of it as opposed to being the main cog. And that was a big win. Switch it over to Houston. They've got to get more scoring from the right people, not just one. And you can't have it when your best player or your best scorer, or when somebody's not having their best night, you still can't win. And in the past, Houston's been able to do that. These last 3 weeks last 3 games, been a little difficult on them. Saying they're not going to go away because knowing the coach that's there will grind on them. But I think now the mental and emotional strain of 3 straight losses and what it's going to take to get going as we get this close, they're going to have to ramp it up. 1 or 2 is a wake-up call. 3 is a little concern, right, Segs? And they were not good last night, except for the start. And Kansas put them away, hard building to play in, as we talked about. Was a little shocked at how Kansas pulled away from Houston and dominated them late. And they did it without their best player scoring 25 or 30. It was impressive. And Kansas won't go away quietly. They're not the team that, they're not going to be a 1 or 2 seed more than likely. But I can tell you this, Houston's got some work to do to get back to doing what we expect. And you see the numbers there. You got to this has got to be a bigger effort offensively for Houston. And what's been their problem, Segs, late in tournaments to get to the national championship? Knocking down clutch shots at the right time.
Yep.
And that's clanging a few at the end because we know they'll play. And it's cost them in a couple runs. And this is costing them now. 59 points against Kansas at Allen Field. Was it 59? I think they ended up with, Segs, last night.
Yeah.
Was it 59?
56,
yeah,
56.
56. Okay. That's not going to be good enough on the road at Allen Fieldhouse. It's just not.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned, other guys need to step up. Kingston Fleming led the team with 16 points. The next guy was Sinek, and Mercy Miller had 9. I mean, Tugler's kind of disappeared at the end of this season.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going on with that, Segs. It's weird.
Only played 24 minutes. He has been the guy that defensively has just been that powerhouse where, if you need physicality, you need a rebound, whatever.
It's keeping him on the floor, right, Segs? Yeah.
That's been Tugler. And he had 3 rebounds last night. That's not going to cut it. Yeah, well, I think he had
look at the result of the game, Segs.
Yeah. 2
of your other scorers 9 points. Your leading scorer 16 points, and then Tugler with 3 rebounds. One of those goes wrong, it's a tough place to go win. When all of that hits, it's like, how do we win? And yet early on, you thought, okay, Houston came to play, but that's why they play 40 of them. And Kansas was more well-equipped to deal with their best player, not lead. I think he had 14 last night, not leading the team in scoring.
Darren Peterson had 14.
A huge win for Kansas, and not just a wake-up call, but that's one of those wake-up calls, Segs. It's not an alarm. It's somebody throwing a cold water on your face because you're oversleeping. That's what happened to Houston last night.
Yeah, definitely. Staying in the college game real quick. We saw 2 more players who are trying to get extra years of eligibility. Joey Aguilar there at Tennessee. And then in basketball, Charles Bediako, who we've talked about trying to get back to Alabama, played a few games and then boom, got denied and had to stop playing. Then he tried to get back. He was denied. So both guys were denied.
And he wants to play while it's pending, right, Segs?
Yes,
while it's going.
He should be able to play while it's pending.
Right.
Yet, how do you do that? I don't get it. But we're seeing more now guys be denied, whereas Trinidad Chambliss got another year for we don't know what reasons, really. It's just, I just don't get it. I think that's the story here. Is not just so much that Aguilar and Bediako got denied and Trinidad Chambliss got approved his extra year. It's that where do we make sense of it all? How does one guy get approved, one guy doesn't, when yet one guy has less than the guy who got approved, and he gets that. It just, none of it makes sense. And this is where we keep coming back to college sports needs a president, a body, a government, something to take charge in this and make it a steadfast rule of 5 or 6 years, whatever you want to do, and we go forward with it.
Haven't I said for months, Segs, I'd love to have Nick Saban run the NC2A, because I think he understands the kid, but I also think he understands where the sport, the college sports needs to be headed and what's going to save it, because he's seen it all. Now, with that in mind, I don't understand. Now, listen, I don't want to grant him an extra year eligibility. I think Chambliss should be playing on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay. But if you did grant him, what's the difference in a guy in the same conference? Why can't he? I mean, it's almost as if he should just, I'm going to stay, that you just pass it through. Yeah. What is the difference? Is it your plight and what you went through to get there, that your plight was different than the other guys? Regardless of the plight, it mattered it matters to Tennessee. It matters to Ole Miss. One gets in and one doesn't. Why? And I can't answer it. So I don't know. I'm not privy to the inside conversation, but to me, it's a move the goalpost. And this, you went 90 in a 55 zone, Segs. I went 90 in a 55 zone. He saw us both. You got a Paul pass and I didn't.
Right.
I got a hall pass and you didn't. I don't understand. It's the same thing here. What's the deal? Well, this guy went through this and he had to travel here and this injury. No. Here's your eligibility. Here's the years. Get the fuck out. Okay. Right. But if you let one in, then let the other in. Listen, as far as the hoops go, dude, you were in an NBA camp. You've already played.
That's different. Yeah.
And got paid for next level basketball. I don't care. You could stand out there and appeal till the cows come home. If you want to appeal till you're 60, your eligibility's up. It's not only time for the NC2A, for Alabama judges, the courts, to move your ass on and go play with the big boys. Enough. Deny him until the cows come home, until he's tired of denials and goes and does what he's supposed to do. Get back, get yourself ready, and try to make it in the NBA. We cannot allow it. I have zero compassion for that. Enough. But we keep allowing it to happen. They'll flood it with it.
Here's the other problem, though, especially when it comes to basketball. I just saw yesterday, and I'm going to blank on the school. I think it was LSU. A kid from Australia. He's 22. He's been playing in, I can't remember their professional league there in Australia for 4 years. He's committed to LSU. He will be there next year as a 22-year-old freshman who has 4 years of professional experience in Australia. And we see this with all these foreigners coming over and joining college basketball.
You got paid to play a sport. Well, they do in college now, but
it should be, if you played in professional in Europe and the Middle East and China and Russia and Australia, wherever, if you played professionally, you just have to go to the NBA. It shouldn't be college basketball as your next step.
Enter the draft and take your shots there and go. You come in, but you don't get to go back and play college hoops. Now, people say, well, what about, people go on church missions? They didn't play in the NBA. They went on a church mission, served the Lord, came back and played. I know they're a little older and it's more experienced and all that. Sometimes
they're not using up their eligibility.
That's right.
They're doing something
exactly
different.
They're not on campus taking classes, Segs, and they're out serving their mission in Chile, right? So I get it, but when you've made the jump, Segs, what would honestly give me a quarterback who was drafted or playing in the pros that didn't use up all his eligibility, Segs, that thought he was going to. I'm trying to think of somebody off the top of my head who's a backup in the league and had another year of eligibility that could come back, but he played and got cut. We could probably find. Think about that in the NFL. Quarterback played 2 years, 3 years, got cut, but has another year of eligibility. Why can't he come back?
Right.
What's the difference?
That's what we're doing.
And you know what we'd all say? Are you nut, dude? You've already won. I mean, that'd have been like me after thinking first round, blowing out many and going to being a free agent and going to Seattle. And after my rookie year saying, man, I got some potential, but I have another year eligibility. I'm going to go fight for another year eligibility. Pop on back and hope that I do it and then move into the third round, yet I've already taken a rookie paycheck from the Seahawks. No, that's not the way this thing works.
JJ McCarthy. He started a few games, dealt with some injuries, And let's say they go out
Yes.
and they sign Malik Willis as the starter, and he becomes their starter, and JJ McCarthy gets pushed down the depth chart. He came out after his third year, so he technically has eligibility. Why couldn't he go back to college?
It'd be crazy too, because they love him and got rid of everybody for him. But that situation, right? That's exactly right. You're saying, man, he got another year eligibility. Go play it. Go star again, and maybe somebody will look at you a little bit different, right, Segs? Or let's say a guy like Sellers would have left this year, come into this draft.
Right.
And let's say he wasn't ready yet, but they love his pitcher, goes and plays as a rookie, not starting, says, you know what, I'm going to go back and play at South Carolina one more year. And you bring him back. Well, that would never happen, Sean. But that's exactly what we're talking about happening with that, Alabama hoops. So to me, steadfast rule. It's a uniformed across thing. You've played this many years of eligibility. I understand the hardship of if a coach leaves. You should get a transfer if I get if a coach leaves on you. But all things being equal, you stay there and go. You can't go play. Yes, but you can't. That's just the transfer for the guys who stay college.
Yes.
Once you've left and you're taking a paycheck from the NBA or NFL, you're done here. That it's not a two-way street anymore. You left, that's the bat cave. When you go in, you got a blindfold on with the Batman show, and you don't know where you went. You come out, and you don't know where it's at. That's it. You've left. That cave no longer exists, buddy. You got to move on to the next one. Finished. And this should not be taking appeal this long. No. You've got a paycheck from the NBA. You are no longer a college eligible player.
Yeah, I think it's easy, and it's something we've talked about doing. And
it is easy. Adults don't make it easy, though, Segs. They never do.
No, and lawyers make it, and there's no governing body making these decisions is also troubling with the NCAA. It's going to actual courts and judges, like in Ole Miss's case. You found an Ole Miss grad that granted it.
What a shock.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. All right, before we get out of here, I saw this tweet yesterday. I just sent it to our group chat, and I don't think Laura was very happy to see it, but a guy in Kentucky, a gentleman, he looked like he was about 50-ish. That guy. Now, you look at him and you're thinking, oh, he murdered a bunch of people. No, he covered himself in fur. Wasn't described what kind of fur. Covered himself in fur and was getting dirty with a dead deer on the side of the road. How hard off do you have to be in the bedroom area to say, I'm going to cover myself in fur and go find a dead Bambi and go to town?
First of all, from the looks of it, it looks like a deer's been banging him for a long time.
Well,
okay, alive or dead. Secondly, you're going to hear people say this too, Segs. Well, he's obviously got some mental illness. You think? You think? He's delivering pound cake to a dead deer on the side of the road when most of us are mortified that poor animal wildlife got hit by a car at night. Yeah. Okay? So the guy dressed in fur goes and starts delivering pound cake to a dead deer. Thank goodness the dead deer didn't feel it. But at what point in time, where do you have to be in life where you think, this is my way out? I understand if the dude was going through difficult times and cooked the dead deer, tried to cure whatever he could do to eat because he was trying to survive in the wilderness. But to think, you know what, I'm horny as a three-peckered goat. I'm going to deliver pound cake to that dead deer because it's not going to fight me. It's not going to put an antler in my ass, and I'm going to get mine. Now the question is, how far did he get through this? Was it like a marathon session? Was he a two-pump chump? What in the world went on with this? Now, can you imagine, hey, man, what turns you on? Well, I like Latina women. You like big fat with a PH ass. Nah. Dead deer side of the road is where I get mines. Yeah. This is, I don't know whether to laugh because this is, which we normally would, or if this is so sick. But you know what, Segs? You think it's the first time? There's people out there banging live animals. That's how whacked out they are. Now, what do you do with this guy? I think the animal's dead. I get it. But there's got to be something. You can't. What do you say to this guy? When you book him, what do you say? Well, if you're the judge, when you bring him into the courtroom, well, how do you approach this other than cover the mic and say, he did what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind
of
charges.
There's pound cake and there's pound cake, brother. This is weird.
I don't know what kind of charges he'll be brought up on. It doesn't quite I guess my big question here is, and I'm just sitting here while you were talking and thinking about this. You're willing to do this to a dead deer, right?
So what else
The
are you
fact
willing to do?
that you just stayed on the side of the road and did it. Why not? I mean, you're
Go back in so
that.
nobody sees you?
Yeah, just like pull it into the woods or whatever.
We call those guys.
See ya.
What's that thing where they call when they like people to watch them? Sakes. Where they like to do where people can see them. There's a word for it, and I can't remember what it is, but they do it so people can't see. I can't.
Bailey said "cuck." Question mark.
Oh, yes. I wasn't thinking. I know what that is.
My first thought,
but that's if the deer's dad, the deer's husband, if it was a female deer, if the deer's husband was watching and said, "Please bang my dead deer because I'm a cuck. I'm cuckified." Yes, I know that. A voyeur. Isn't it called a voyeur?
Sure.
When they don't mind having to do it in front of people. Yes, I know Bailey through the cuck. No kidding.
I thought
but
about
I don't think that I don't think the dead deer's lover said, "Hey, bang her. She's dead, man. I'm good. I want to watch because it turns me on, and I'll hammer one out on the side while you're hammering it out on the side of the road." Really, Segs? Thanks. And then I wonder, was he whispering in the dead deer's ear? I wouldn't be laughing at this if the deer was alive because I love wildlife. You know my affinity for animals, Segs. It's sick and wrong, but I can't. I don't know if I can get. I gotta. It's if you don't laugh at it or smirk at it. But I always think about what is this dude doing when he's not being seen. Well,
right.
What happens there? So I just wonder, was it a romantic? Was it a romantic interlude? And Bailey's out of his mind. Oh, the male deer was a cuck. What? What? Yeah, a little voyeur. He wanted the cars driving by to see him. So, Segs, this is weird. And I hope he was he slapping ass? What was he doing? Like, I mean, getting into it?
One last question for you on this. Did the deer have antlers? And if so, does it make it gay?
Oh, that's full on gay.
Yeah.
If it had antlers.
It's like if he's holding on to the antlers.
This is a whole new version of.
It's not too far now.
He was a whole new version of deer in the headlights. Okay. Okay. This dude, yeah. Invite him to your party. Wow.
If you pulled up to this, if you're the person that's driving by and you see something, you're like, what the hell? So, think it's nighttime and you pull your car to the side of the road and you pull in the ditch a little bit so you can get your headlights on it. And then you pull up and you see this guy in fur. Let's remember, he was dressed in fur. So maybe the first person thought it was just two deer, doing their thing in the ditch.
I have a hunch that this isn't the first time he's gone cuck on an animal. Okay. You guys are idiots in this show now. Okay.
No, because Dustin says the perfect thing. What if the deer woke up like in Tommy Boy in the
car? Oh, yeah, in the car? Yeah, exactly. It said, "You suck. Is that all you could deliver to me? That's all you were bringing?" And I didn't even get any foreplay. Yeah. Dude, this is, and the fact of the matter that this is a real story is alarming. Okay.
Yeah.
There are people out there that exist like that. Now, what do you do? Just say, dude, lock him up, throw away the key, and just say, do what you can with the steel bars and I mean, what do you do with a weirdo like this? You can't let him walk on the streets because who the hell's safe from this?
No.
Weird. Friggin' weird.
I guess it's either the most wrong way or the most right way to end the show this week, because we are going to be off the next 3 days. We will be back next Monday with Coach JB. Maybe we can ask Coach JB what he would do to the guy. I think
moral of the story is don't bang a dead deer.
Yeah. That will.
You want to know if it was a buck, though, don't you? That's what you want to know.
And I want to know if that's gay.
And I want to know if he was talking. So. I want to know if the guy was talking to him too. Like, hey, man, hey, you're not my first, but you're my best.
And then he's thinking, wait, the deer's dead. He can't talk back.
That's right. Good. Then I'm going to stay here longer. Now I'm in. Yeah. Now I can do my thing. Maybe get two. Hey, by the way, the combine's coming up, so we just want to let you know.
Go enjoy the combine. They get on the field tomorrow, I think, with defensive linemen and maybe linebackers get on the field tomorrow. There will be no deer there. No deer. in the stadium, I don't think.
There may be a few deer in the headlights that get scared, though.
There may
Sags.
be. Yes.
Maybe a few of those under the competition. We'll see that too.
Yep. So, all right. Well, thanks for watching Unpaved, the flagship show for USC football and Houston Texans coverage. Follow Sean at Sean Unfiltered, myself at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to Bailey, Laura, all our viewers, commenters, listeners. Fun show today.
Augusta Precious Metals.
Yes,
And
Augusta
we'll see you
Precious
on Monday.
Metals. Again, we will be off the next 3 days. We'll return Monday with our normal time, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Coach JB will join us. We'll talk combine, talk what we saw from these quarterbacks, these wide receivers we talked about. How did Makai Lemon look in these drills at the combine? Plenty of football coming up. And then we're just, we'll come back on the 2nd. We're less than 2 weeks away from free agency and that chaos of the NFL.
And hoops tourney too, Segs, which is going to be great. Baseball season right around the corner, which we can't wait.
So we'll be back next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Get to YouTube, like and subscribe at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. I forgot that. Like and subscribe. Get all the notifications. We'll be back next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Peace.
Unpaved Sean Salisbury here for bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.